Today I'm talking about Led Zeppelin III in celebration of its 55th anniversary. The album was released on October 5th, 1970 through Atlantic Records. On this album, they decided to do something different. You see, on the first two albums, the songs had a balance between hard rock, blues rock, psychedelic rock, and acoustic folk rock, but on this one, there was a lot more acoustic folk rock and fewer of the other styles. So many people consider this to be an acoustic album, even though it starts off with one of their hardest rockers. So in this video, I want to go through the history behind the album, talk about the recording process, and that included using different instruments, and I want to talk about the songs, some of which are based on traditional reinterpretations of songs recorded by other artists. The story begins in 1969. Led Zeppelin were a very successful band that had already released two albums. They began their recording session for the upcoming third album at Olympic Studios in November 1969. At first, they were just going to record a non-album track to be released as a single, but then they decided against it. But Robert Plant and Jimmy Page decided they needed a break. So they went to Bron-Yr-Aur, which is a 19th century cottage in Snowdonia, Wales. The idea was to get away from it all, as the location had no running water or electricity, which was one of the main reasons this album had a lot of acoustic songs. Jimmy Page said that this setting was a big change of pace and influence on his writing for the album. His main influences for the album were folk guitarists David Graham and Bert Jansch, who used alternate tunings, which you will see later in the video as I talk about different tunings that Jimmy Page used on the songs. The truth was that all the band members wanted to take a change in their music direction at the time. While they were at Bron-Yr-Aur, they prepared material for the album. Robert Plant and Jimmy Page then met up with John Bonham and John Paul Jones at Headley Grange, a mansion in East Hampshire, to rehearse the songs. This was also located in a rural setting, so that helped the band focus and develop the songs in a way that couldn't be done in a big city setting. They recorded the album from May to June 1970 using the Rolling Stones mobile studio, then later at Olympic Studios in London, and finally at Island Studios in Notting Hill. They decided to go to the States to do the mixing, so that was done at Ardent Studios in Memphis, Tennessee in August of 1970 while they were on tour in the States. The album was produced by Jimmy Page and engineered by Andy Johns and Terry Manning, the latter of which was somebody Jimmy Page knew while playing in his previous band, the Yardbirds. So now I want to talk about some of the songs on the album, because most people call this an acoustic album, and it's true to some degree, but there's still a lot of songs in here that are harder rockers, which brings us to the opening track, Immigrant Song. I've always considered this to be one of the first Viking metal songs, or you can even call it proto-power metal. But you know, it is a heavy song, so many hard rock and metal bands have actually covered it over the years, including Great White, Dark Angel, Demons and Wizards, Stryper, and Saxon. But just the lyrics to the song alone have inspired countless metal bands, such as Iron Maiden, Saxon, Manowar, and Amon Amarth. Immigrant Song is about Norse mythology and Valhalla. It was written during Led Zeppelin's tour of Iceland, Bath, and Germany in the summer of 1970. The opening date of this tour was Reykjavik, Iceland, which inspired Robert Plant to write the lyrics. 6 days later, the band played the song live for the first time at the Bath Festival. The song is based on a heavy metal style guitar riff, which back then was not really considered to be metal. The riff has been the basis for many metal riffs in the year to come. The song is also released as a single and is one of the few songs released on a 45 RPM single format. The song is featured in Hey Hey What Can I Do as a B-side. The song was later used as a concert opener from 1970 to 1972. Not only that, the song has been used in many different movies, including School of Rock from 2003, which is interesting because lead actor Jack Black was able to convince Led Zeppelin of giving him permission to use a song in the movie after he sent him a video of himself doing a cover of it. The song was also used in the third Shrek movie as well as a trailer for Thor Ragnarok in 2017. The album might start off with a hard rocker, but then it goes directly into an acoustic song called Friends. This one was written by Page and Plant at Bron-Yr-Aur. The song is also considered to be Jimmy Page's last attempt at psychedelia, although I never noticed it that much with the song. According to Jimmy Page, he's always been inspired by Indian and Caribbean music. The song is an acoustic song with an alternate tuning, which is a variation of an open C chord. The song also includes string arrangements by John Paul Jones. What's interesting is that the song has rarely been played live. The only known performance was on September 29, 1971 in Osaka, Japan. The song was also re-recorded by Page and Plant with the Bombay Symphony Orchestra in 1972 during their trip to India, along with another track, Four Sticks, from Led Zeppelin IV. This recording can be found on the 2015 remaster of Coda. The song was also re-recorded by Page and Plant for the 1994 release, No Quarter, Jimmy Page and Robert Plant Unleaded, accompanied by a Middle Eastern orchestra. After this is a song that was later used for a concert film and album in 2012. I'm talking about Celebration Day. The song starts with some guitar chords played after this droning sound produced with a synthesizer. The song feels like a continuation of the previous song Friends, as one song seamlessly transitions into the other. The original version of the song was going to be a drum track from John Bonham, but it accidentally got erased by one of the engineers. I guess you could call it a happy accident, because in my opinion, the song sounds fine the way it is. This accident was actually the reason that the song transitions from the previous one. The song was also recorded at Headley Grange. Robert Plant's lyrics were inspired by his visit to New York City. He would even call this the New York song during the 1971 tour. The song became a live staple from 1971 to 1973 and returned to the band's setlist during the Nebworth Festival in 1979. The song also appears as a live version in the soundtrack for the live concert film. The song remains the same in 1976. Jimmy Page would later perform the song with the Black Crowes in 1999. After this is one of their blues rock songs called Since I've Been Loving You. This was actually one of the first songs recorded for the album. It was recorded live in the studio with very little overdubbing. On this track, John Paul Jones plays a Hammond organ using bass pedals instead of the bass guitar. This is also one of those classic reimaginings of a Led Zeppelin song, as the opening and closing lyrics are almost identical to the 1968 Moby Grape song, Never. Side 1 of the album closes with a song called Out on the Tiles. This is another hard rocker. Song title comes from an expression that was often used by drummer John Bonham, which is a British idiomatic expression for going out drinking or going out on a night on the town. Jimmy Page was also inspired to write the guitar riff after hearing John Bonham hum a tune while he was out drinking. This is one of the few hard rockers on the album, along with Immigrant Song. Side 2 opens with a cover of a traditional song called Gallows Pole. The song starts off with just an acoustic guitar, but then they incorporate other instruments such as the mandolin, electric bass, banjo, and drums. This is one of the songs on the album that uses a standard tuning. The song was played live for a few times during concerts in 1971 and was recorded as a live acoustic version for the 1994 album, No Quarter, Jimmy Page and Robert Plant Unleaded. After this is Tangerine, or the second Led Zeppelin song named after a citrus fruit. This is another one of those folk rock songs. The song is a ballad about lost love. The song actually dates back to 1968 with the band The Yardbirds and their version of it called Knowing That I'm Losing You. The song also features John Paul Jones on the mandolin. The song picks up in the second verse, which contains the chorus. This is where you hear John Paul Jones on the bass and John Bonham on the drums. The next song is another folk rock ballad called That's the Way. It was written by Page and Plant at Bron-Yr-Aur. The working title of the song was The Boy Next Door. On the surface, lyrics are about one boy's parents being against a friendship with another boy due to his long hair and coming from the wrong side of town. The song is also a reflection of their early American tours, as they were sometimes harassed for their appearance. The song also features a strummed 12-string guitar with overdubbed mandolin and steel guitar fills. After this is Bron-Yr-Aur Stomp, which is a song named after the place that Page and Plant stayed when they wrote the music. Even though it is considered to be an original song, it was influenced by a song called Wagoner's Lad by Bert Jansch. a Scottish folk musician and founding member of the band Pentangle. The song features Jimmy Page on acoustic guitar, John Bonham playing spoons and castanets, and bass played by John Paul Jones playing the double bass. There were also unidentified musicians playing maracas and hand claps. Finally, the album ends with Hats Off to Roy Harper. The song is a tribute to the English folk singer Roy Harper, who was a friend of the band. According to Jimmy Page, the band admired his artistic integrity. The song is an acoustic blues track. It features a unique sound with Robert Plant's vocals being recorded through a vibrato amplifier, which gives the song its distant howling quality. The song is also often considered to be one of the more experimental and unconventional tracks on the album. The song is credited on the original LP to Traditional, arranged by Charles Obscure, which is a pseudonym for Jimmy Page. The re-release credits the song to Page and Plant. The track is a medley of lyrics and music borrowed from various traditional blues artists, including Shake 'Em Down by Bukka White. Other influences include the work of Sonny Boy Williamson and Oscar Woods. So in conclusion, the album is considered to be an important album in rock history, mainly because it marked a stylistic shift for the band. After two successful albums which featured more of a hard rock style, the band shifted towards a softer folk rock sound and it proved that bands did not have to keep releasing the same album over and over. The album also showed the band versatility, which included tracks such as Gallows Pole, That's the Way, and Tangerine, which used instruments such as banjos, mandolins, and a steel pedal guitar. But not only that, they included one of their heaviest songs to date, Immigrant Song, so it's an album that has a nice balance of heavy and light. The acoustic tracks also provide the blueprint for some of their more famous songs, such as Stairway to Heaven. The album has also held up very well. When it was first released, fans and critics were expecting something heavier and similar to their first two albums, so at the time critics and fans expected it to fail, but it never happened as Led Zeppelin III went to the top of the charts. Over time, the album has gained recognition as a masterpiece of dynamic range and experimentation, and as a turning point in Led Zeppelin's career. If you enjoyed this video, please check out my video on the next album, Led Zeppelin IV. I recorded it a few years ago when it celebrated 50 years. It's an older video, but still includes lots of information about the album. So check that out right here. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Please give the video a like. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.